True Talk, brought to you by TRULAND Equipment. Join us as we explore cutting-edge machinery, groundbreaking technology, and inspirational stories from the field.
From the dedicated efforts of our team members to the triumphs and challenges of our farmers, True Talk brings you along every step of the way.
Whether you're a seasoned agriculturalist or simply curious about the industry, tune in to discover the fascinating intersection of technology, agriculture, and green machines.
True Talk, cultivating true conversations. What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about today, Courtney?
Well, we have Joe back, as everyone knows from earlier. We're talking about demos, wrapping up See and Spray from this summer, and we're just now starting with our S7 Combine demos. So, Joe, welcome back.
That we are. Thank you, guys. Appreciate having me.
Kind of a demo update, putting a bow on the summer See and Spray demos. And
Yeah,
we're pretty well putting See and Spray to bed, so unless some guys decide to use it in the fallow ground this fall. For the most part, we've got everything wrapped up. Getting guys ready for next year already. We've got some incentives coming out and some different things we could talk about there a little bit, to the best of my knowledge, I guess.
so we had a podcast on See and Spray earlier, kind of getting the customer feedback and talking a little bit about it. Now that we've done a whole season worth, just kind of give us a brief thought, and we'll dive in, but give us a brief thought. Success, not success?
I think it was more of a success than what people are looking at it as. Because we talked about the licensing units and stuff like that, and definitely for next year they really cleaned that up and made it better. Some of the demos we had a lot of interest in it. Just the savings side of it, they are seeing a savings. So
It works.
it works. Yeah, the machine works tremendously.
Yeah.
We're seeing 40 to 60% savings across the board. I've got one customer who bought a machine this year, the Ultimate package, and he was pushing 70% chemical savings.
Wow.
did he buy it before or after that?
He bought it before.
Okay.
My favorite thing, point blank, about talking about See and Spray is you can just about take it to the bank that you're going to have at least 50 and probably closer to 60 or 70% chemical savings. It's like every single study you see and everything you do, it's always around that number, which I think is fascinating.
It is.
Really
It
fascinating.
really is. And like we talked back in when we had Justin on the last time on the podcast, there is some niche to it. So a little bit of a science to figuring out how you want to do your broadcasting and everything for the year. Some tillage work that we can do beforehand to kind of help out. It's just it's going to be something that guys are going to have to play with a little bit when figure out what system works for them.
Sure.
Well, and I think in a situation where in the past couple of years we've seen such a pressure, I feel like the weather has influenced our decisions a lot more than it has in prior years. I mean, that's impacted management decisions. And so I think that having the option to broadcast or use See and Spray just gives one more tool in your tool belt. And just a little bit of diversity there.
Right, and you brought up the elephant in the room, the subscription model. You said it's going to be cleaned up a little bit. That's usually the hang up in with customers. But again, once they see the success, I think they can and understand the figures. They can deal with that. We've even got some ag service providers down in my area that are considering a See and Spray, and I thought that would never happen. You would never take a fertilizer dealer that wants to sell herbicides, and yet they'd be interested in a See and Spray machine. But I don't know anybody that wants to just throw a bunch of chemicals out there.
Right.
If they don't have to. I mean, nobody wants to truly do that.
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, I think that everybody sees. I mean, we're seeing even like mare's tail become resistant to
Sure.
herbicides, and with all of that becoming more prevalent, we're hearing more and more about it. Those really pesky weeds, we definitely don't want to see those take over. And I think there's a component in there that people are thinking about that, and we're actually being more conscious about applying less chemical and utilizing what we are using in a better way.
Yeah,
So.
and you're talking about not introducing any more resistance than we have to.
And not that that's a new conversation.
Right.
No.
But it's legit, especially with mare's tail and water hemp. One of the game changers was introducing that residual system. Having that dual tank system in that sprayer completely opens you up to a variety of possibilities and flexibilities of being able to put that one product down over the whole field and still use the See and Spray to kill growing and active and invisible weeds. And I think about, we demoed that this summer in some different situations, but fall spraying is, in my opinion, is still an awesome opportunity to use that technology as well, where you might want to shoot a residual down, but then put a contact in to kill weeds that have already emerged in the fall.
Oh, absolutely.
Mare's tail.
Before they get to reproductive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that just keeps going. It's like the Energizer Bunny. You keep going and going with opportunities to use See and Spray, pre-plant, post, and even fall spraying. So you've got at least 3 scenarios in a crop year where you could put that technology to use.
Absolutely. And the other part people should consider, I know the Ultimate Machine is going to be a hard push for some people as far as that initial price, but what we were doing this year with the Ultimate Machine, they're doing 2 different applications at once in one pass. So essentially they're doing 2 things at once, saving half the time, right?
So you're saving trips.
You're saving trips,
yeah.
right? Across field.
Yep.
So,
Yep, having that extra tank.
And fuel.
yep.
That adds up.
Yeah, it's
And I think it's nice because there is a component in there where you have to be conscious of what you're putting in a tank. I mean, you can't make too hot of a load. Nobody wants to do that to where we're, burning the heck out of the crops across
Right.
Sure.
100 acres in a field. But if you can completely separate those in a logical way, not only are you saving chemical, but you're also saving passes, but still getting the exact or more protection in the field.
Right.
I think it's going to be important if growers are going to invest in this technology to, like you say, to have a plan in place. You want to, if you have the technology, you want to use it. You don't want to just say, okay, I've got the sprayer, I'm going to use it. No, let's have a plan. Let's have a herbicide plan, a pest management plan where we can have something in place and a chemical plan in place where we can actually utilize that technology. Because I think the worst thing you could do is buy a sprayer like that and
Not
Not
use
use
it.
Not use it, yeah.
not use it to its full potential.
Well, that's the situation. I mean, there is some sticker shock to people associated with the machine. I'm not gonna, try to gloss over that fact by any means. But again, the only way that it pays is when you're using it to full capacity for what it's made for, and then you actually see savings and you're getting the cost effectiveness out of the machine itself to where it does yield a return. But if you're just using it as a normal sprayer and broadcasting across all of your acres, you're never going to see that return. And then it's going to be not only a waste of the technology, but a waste of the investment.
Yeah.
And the nice part about next year's business model is you can turn it on and you can leave it on, right? Mm-hmm. You're only going to get billed for those licensing units where it is spraying.
Yeah.
The only times you're getting billed for, how did I just say that? I said that all wrong. So essentially you turn it on, you're going to get billed for the time
That you're not spraying.
that you're not spraying. Thank you. I had to correct myself there.
See, I knew what you were going to say, so then I just heard it correctly in my
It's,
brain.
it's,
appreciate
it's,
that.
it's hard to wrap your head around the logic of that, but when you think about it, it kind of starts to make
Right.
It's confusing at first, but then you think about it and you're like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
As compared to past years, so this year and prior years.
Yeah, this year you were afraid to turn it on because it's like, is it going to be worth it? I bought licensing units to do so many acres. When do I turn it on? When don't I?
Yeah.
Next year it's kind of a fail-safe. I can just turn it on and leave it on.
Yeah, it's an encouragement to use the technology,
Yeah.
which is good. Again,
Right.
if you're investing in it, you got to use it. We invest a lot in technology, and a lot of it's underutilized. So this is a good motivation to utilize technology that you're paying for. So
It's really a penalty-free system, which, I mean, I think that, and I've said this time and time again, subscriptions are not the easiest thing to understand, and it's hard for a lot of people to see value, but this is something where it's black and white right in front of you. Turn it on.
Right.
You have the technology. You literally should use it.
I mean, and I've thought about it after the fact this year. Josh, you might have a better idea. What does it cost an acre to put one pass for a contact herbicide? $10-15 an hour.
It probably more than that. It used to be pretty cheap when we were just using plain glyphosate, but now with the other chemicals, I would say it's probably closer to $25-30. And with
it depends on your program. You have some programs that are going to be a little bit higher price per acre than others.
Rarely are you putting one product in the tank anymore, too.
Right.
And you've got a lot of additives, so it doesn't take much to get to that $25 to $30 mark.
Right. So when the See and Spray is actually turned on, I mean, you can figure it this way: it's going to cost me $25-30 an acre, like we talked, to pass across this field with See and Spray turned on, 60% savings. If I'm getting billed those licensing units, it's only going to be $5 an acre for what I'm not spraying. So
60% savings, even if it's just $20 an acre, is $12.
Yeah.
Right.
So right there, you've doubled your money.
Right.
Yeah.
In one field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doubled your money per acre and what you're paying versus what you're saving. So it works. It makes sense. So we covered this in our harvest clinics. We kind of did a wrap up, and you did a really good job of covering a lot of kind of cool examples. But give us kind of just some hard facts that you have right off the bat that you took away from the summer.
I'm pulling up my slides and looking through here for some of our combine clinics they had me talk at. This was for the month of July. This was some interesting numbers Deere sent to me. See and Spray area worked was 554,915 acres across the U.S. this year. Worked and not applied was 319,837 acres. So that was essentially on an average of 205 machines we had out and about in the U.S., an average of 57.64%.
So just short of 60%
savings.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Awesome.
And so Deere officially hit the million acre mark.
Across. I'm sure they did by the time we were all said and done. So.
Yeah. So they came out with that in end of August, I think, is when they said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Approximately. So.
And it was similar last year. I mean, that number, again, that 50, we'll call it 57 to 70, somewhere in there, that number was consistent even last year, not just this year, too. That's a number that's pretty standard so far in the demos that we've done for 2 years. Yeah. At least 2 years.
Enough to make Deere confident. From what we're seeing, I'm confident the machine works well.
Yeah. So that's big. That's big.
And times are changing. We're not 20 years ago where Grandpa was mixing the tank and put it on hot.
Yeah.
We want to make sure it's dead. And that's what it was. I remember my grandpa doing that. He's mixing the sprayer and he put it in hot. Nobody cared about how much chemical you put on back in the day.
Right.
And times are changing.
Now everybody's dealing with it.
Well, we didn't know. We didn't know what we didn't know.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing the effects of it. And the communities are getting more conscious of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it's an environmental component. And again, that could be another elephant in the room. But I think it's a hot topic issue. But I don't know anybody that wants to just throw chemicals out in the environment. We know that. We know that. We need sustainability just from an agricultural standpoint. We need the land to give back to us, right? We need the biology in the land to give back to us. And we're starting to focus on soil health and things like that. So I don't know anybody that just wants to dump stuff out there. We do it with intent. We do it when we have to use it. We do it when we have to kill weeds. We spray fungicide when we have a disease coming in. But so I think that even though people don't want to talk about it, I truly believe that we just don't want to throw stuff out there. Well, and communities, you brought the neighbors and communities. I mean, it's better for everybody when we use less. I mean,
and I think the bigger thing that we're dealing with now is, we have resistant weeds, and so we do have different programs that we can utilize, but just as quickly as they're brought in, almost, or even quicker, they're faded out. Absolutely. So we saw Liberty come in pretty hot, and that was new and great. Everybody grabbed a hold of it. Then shortly followed by Extend, and then we have Extend Flex, and we have Enlist and Enlist 2. So all of that, it took a long time to develop those programs, and now we're seeing resistancies already occur, and there's not time or money enough of either to create a new program by the time that we're creating resistant weeds.
It takes 8 to 10 years to bring a new herbicide down the pipeline to do the appropriate testing and
And then you start talking about resistant crops. So
Right. Yeah. So
that's another 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is we've got to use with care and handle with care, and we've got to have the enlists and the dicambas, and Liberty's been a godsend through the last few years too. And Liberty's been around for a little bit of a while. It was around when I kind of first started. It kind of came into the picture, but it's been used more widely, and
it's been brought back to
it's
back
used,
to the forefront.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It's become more popularized, and it's been a godsend. But you have to use these herbicides with intent. When you talk about, again, mare's tail and water hemp are always the two that pop into my mind. These are a different kind of weed. These are weeds that have an amazing ability to fight off herbicides, and the window of an effectiveness, even of something like a list, is going to be, in the whole scheme of things, pretty short. Enlist has 2,4-D. 2,4-D has been around since the 1960s.
Forever.
But kind of showing me that it's starting to get a little weaker.
Starting to crumble. Yeah.
So we got to be smarter about just throwing it out there and throwing it out there in waves, and think that eventually things aren't going to become resistance. Because when you talk about water hemp and you talk about mare's tail, they are beasts in fending off herbicides. Beasts. So you have to spray with intent. I think that's what the kind of the method is here, and the understanding of tying that back to that technology. You spray with intent. Mm-hmm. We don't just spray to spray.
Right.
So great numbers. What else pops into your head? That's the big one, right? That 60%.
That's the big one. I mean, the big one is the average savings we can push across them.
And you can math that however, whatever, if you're using the lowest cost program, the highest cost, and high management acres, whatever, 60% is 60%. And that's just, that's pure savings. Like you said, like it pays for itself to turn that on. So
we have, I mentioned that even the ASPs we're talking, we thought the ASPs were going to hate this technology and just run from it because they sell herbicides. But we've already had a couple that are like, absolutely, I'd love to have a machine, and I'll charge customers a little bit more for spraying, but they'll save quite a bit on herbicides. And it's kind of a win-win.
Well, and
in that situation.
We've gotten into some situations in the past where those different herbicides, we've had trouble getting them over the summer.
Sure.
And people are, when you pick a program, you're dead set. There's no turning around and going back. When it's planted, and you're done, locked in. And so if you have trouble getting those herbicides, why the heck not? If they can save those on the acres that ASP, the ag service provider, that retailer is covering, and save the full bulk totes for somebody else who doesn't have the opportunity to do that and is just spraying broadcast, that's a win-win.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And the residuals aren't going to go anywhere with the water hemp pressure, but with water hemp in particular, it has such a long germination window that weed can germinate and come up all summer. So even when you have a heavy residual program, you might need multiple in-crop trips. In fact, a lot of times we are needing multiple trips. So again, with that 50 to 70% savings, you can about spray 2 trips and use the herbicide that you might use in one full spray. So
and still saving for the season.
Yeah, and so it starts to work out when you really look at the situation we're in. It starts to make sense.
I guess additionally, we've seen some pretty neat stuff throughout the year on the ops center side of it too. Just some of the maps and stuff, because the machine will map what it sees as far as weed pressure and stuff like that. And we really did see some pretty cool maps come back. One that comes to mind was a pivot we had done. The weed pressure to the outside of where the pivot across through the field, this guy spread liquid manure from a hog farm.
Through the pivot?
Through the pivot. And the weed pressure was extremely light where that hog manure come through, so you could see it mapped that where that pivot was as far as a weed pressure map. That was pretty cool. Yeah,
we had some interesting interdepartmental discussion on why that was the case, and I don't know that we had a couple maybe ideas of why, but the reality is that that's a killer example, a weird example. It's kind of the opposite of what you expect.
Exactly. Yeah, I would have figured being manure, it would have been you expect to see seeds hit
that nutrient rich,
dense
zone.
In seeds from a lot of times that manure has weed seeds from crops and feeds from different sources.
That's what I would have expected, but I got to thinking, it's like they put it on heavy, they put it on when it was hot out, and I'm just wondering if it kept a coating over it to keep from germination.
You know what
salt.
I never thought about until now? We use manure on our pumpkin patch and to keep the weed pressure down.
Our listeners can't see that map. We've seen that map before. So when you talked about the machine maps what it sees, but it obviously it maps what it sprays. So you get a application map and a weed map, so to speak. Yep. And in that particular instance, you're talking about the big circle where that irrigator went around. There were no weeds, essentially.
Correct.
But they mapped the weeds outside of that area that the irrigator could not reach.
Yep.
And you could see it clear as day.
Look, remembering back from that demo, it was what it was there was a lot of grass to the outsides where that pivot didn't cross through. So.
Okay.
Yep.
So it works, and you have a nice visual to prove it.
Yep, that was a later application. The guy even said, he says, I didn't get to these near as quick as I needed to. They're kind of a little out of control, and pulling into that is like, yeah, this could be an interesting demo. And then we get the map, and it's like, well, that's kind of cool.
It was corn?
I believe that was soybeans.
Soybeans even?
Yep, soybeans.
Interesting. Okay, manure on soybeans.
Yeah, that's just where their pivot is.
Is there I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask it for all of our listeners out there. Is there a preference between crop type for See and Spray?
Not that I saw this year. Obviously, with corn, we don't get the canopy quite as quickly, I want to say.
Yeah. You don't have that bushiness.
And I would think you're more apt to have post-spray needs in soybeans overall throughout the season. I mean,
right. Absolutely.
A lot of times corn would be mostly escapes if guys are using like a 3-way mix on the herbicides. But
I just think it's important to call out that there is equal opportunity for both crops.
Absolutely. And even in corn, if you're using a 3-way mix as a residual, that seeing just a handful of escapes, again, makes that technology worthwhile.
Absolutely.
So.
Yep. And then the adaptation this year, the technology, like we said, it gets better as we go. It got better this year. We could do 30-degree cross rows with it. 15-inch soybeans. So now we can do split row corn for the most part.
And the speeds are increasing too.
And speeds are increasing. Again, they increased this year. I'd like to see the premiums next year get a little faster, but I don't know if that's going to happen yet or not. So they haven't told us anything.
But the ultimates are pretty fast. I mean, you can move across those acres.
Oh, absolutely. So the ultimates we can get up to 15 mile an hour.
Which
Down
the rows.
Yep.
Yeah. Don't get me started on driving over 15 miles an hour, but whatever. Neither here nor there.
And then we still have this 3 sensitivity settings, or 3 or 5?
Five sensitivity settings.
Kind of explain where you guys kind of settled and what those.
And we did play with those quite a bit. So different fields, we can set our sensitivity rates to what we want to spray as far as how big the weed is.
So what the camera sees.
Correct. And it's neat because you can go into the camera, you can pick a spot. It's going to highlight the weeds in purple. And as you decrease your sensitivity, you're going to see less purple. So,
would you actually physically go out and look and see what the camera's seeing?
We would pull up to it. It's like, well, I want to. So we've got some tall. I'm trying to think of one demo we pulled up. He says, don't really want to focus on the grass. I want to focus on the taller stuff, and we'll let the residual take care of the grass. We turned the sensitivity down, so we were taking care of, just like you talked about, the mare's tail that was poking through the taller stuff, and we hit that with the contact, and it worked well.
Where did you find that your setting stayed at for the most part?
For the most part, we typically put it right around that normal
middle. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I mean, that's where you're going to get, obviously, the more sensitive, the higher the sensitivity, the more chemical you're going to use.
Right.
It's going to see a lot more things as a weed.
Yep.
And potentially a few things that even aren't weeds might be seen as a weed.
Yep.
Right.
Definitely. So, and with that, we could also turn on, as far as trying to adjust for savings, obviously windier days, we could turn it up to where it would turn on more nozzles to make sure we're not getting that overcast.
So when it sees a weed, instead of spraying on one nozzle, it might turn on the nozzle above the weed and then the nozzle on each side, something like that, just to widen that pattern.
Well, that's what we
just
call our buffer area.
Yeah.
So just to make sure we're getting that weed covered like we need it to.
And you can also adjust how far ahead it turns on.
Correct.
And how far after the weed it turns off.
Correct.
So that zone down the row.
Yep.
Which when we did that simulated demo, we put corn out in a field to simulate some volunteer corn.
And some bare ground.
Yeah, and some fallow ground. We kind of put cardboard around it to demonstrate that buffer area.
Yep.
So increasing and decreasing that. So
Yep, pond dye is always a good friend of yours. So if you don't think you're hitting it, throw some pond dye in it.
But
So-
wear some gloves. You're turning
and wear
into a
some
Smurf.
gloves. Yeah.
Turn into a Smurf.
you know what would also be good is if you wore those, like when you go into a hog barn, those like slip covers over the booties.
It'd probably help.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of blue shoes, and I'm like, oh, I know that you were around the demo machine this
Yeah.
week.
Full disclaimer: they should have the appropriate PPE gear on.
Oh,
it
absolutely.
Anyway,
Yeah.
If you are OSHA and listening to this, we always wear that
we
stuff.
always want our customers to be safe.
Head to toe, goggles, gloves.
All right.
Yep.
But the blue dye can be a little intrusive if it gets on you. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah. Anything else before we got a couple more examples I know, but any other hard figures that kind of pop in your head I guess experience that when you think about your summer with this machine. What are one or two things that really kind of summarize it?
The neat part about it was it broke down the tank mixes. So you can see what you're saving per fluid ounce for your additives and stuff like that. So that was really cool. It does all that for you in Op Center.
I didn't even know that.
So
Yeah.
you set up a
Look
tank
at
mix,
that. Learned
set up a tank mix beforehand, and it gives you that breakdown, your
Yep.
savings breakdown
Yeah,
after.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Dollar figures in there.
dollar figures, no. So
Okay.
that was the nice part. I have that. So we can talk about that customer that I have that bought the Ultimate. He's actually working on what is that program that partnered with us?
Harvest Profit.
Harvest Profit.
Yes.
So he is getting into that and getting that set up, and he is amazed.
Yeah.
They don't quite have it set up for See and Spray yet. He's reached out to them, and they said they're definitely working on it.
Okay.
But to
Shout
see-
out
to
for
see-
Harvest Profit, by the way.
Oh yeah, shout
Great
out
program.
to Harvest Profit.
Yeah.
If you guys want to know more, let us know. Absolutely. But it puts the dollars and cents to the Op Center side of it, and he's starting to get that set up, and he's like, "This is cool."
That's awesome. So again, we've not to get too far off topic, but we've seen a lot of software programs come and go. Harvest Profit to me is one of the best I've ever seen, and if they can integrate a little more See and Spray into it, I think it's going to be amazing to truly see those dollars, because it does a good job of showing. You go out, it works good with application. It just hasn't incorporated the on and off yet.
Right.
It's with See and Spray, but boy, it tells you if you spray something whether it pays or not.
Oh, and
Harvest
it's real
Profit
time,
wise.
so you can go home, pull it up. It's like, I saved this much money today.
Yeah.
That's a wild.
Taking my wife out to dinner.
Heck
Right.
yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
happy late.
Maybe even the kids. Yeah.
So that's good. So that's a customer success story right off the bat.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So
I think the Harvest Profit integration is awesome.
I
The
It is.
potential there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
But-
again, not to get too far off topic.
Yep.
No, but you got to say that because the reality is there's been a lot of programs that have not come up. They've not been up to snuff, and this one is. So
I'm just thinking about how many less Excel spreadsheets are going to not exist on farmers'
Yep.
computers or have to exist on farmers' computers.
Yep.
You might actually be able to see their desktop picture now.
so yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what else? So that was one thing you remembered. Anything else? Just kind of cool story or something that stuck with you?
I think one of the cool maps that I brought in from Deere, I talked to our reps and they got me some of the slides. Some of the neat stuff they're seeing out west with the tumbleweeds.
Okay.
You guys saw that slide. That was really kind of cool. You could actually see where the tumbleweeds had passed through the field, dropped the seed.
Mm-hmm.
See little
the little
streaks.
squiggly marks going through the field from the tumbleweed, and it mapped where those sprayed those
Yeah.
weeds as they were coming up. So I mean,
It's clear as day, wasn't it? You could see those paths through the field that they traveled.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Just because they left some weed seeds and the See and Spray picked it up in
Yeah.
the cameras.
it's
Yeah.
just it's wild. It's sees what it sprays.
It also makes me very
Or sprays
thankful
what
that
sees.
we don't have tumbleweeds in Indiana
Oh
or
yeah,
Ohio. Those
So-
are some nasty little boogers.
So, are we done demoing that machine? Is there going to be potential for fall spraying demos, or have we kind of wrapped those
I think
up?
we've kind of wrapped it up for the year. We're focusing on harvest now, so we've got those machines bumping around, trying to get them out and about. We're just getting them fired up. A lot of technology in those machines as well.
So we're talking about the 2025 S7
Series combine.
series
combines,
combines,
yeah.
yeah, that have the predictive ground speed technology and
The harvest
Automation.
harvest
Yeah.
automation, and so when we're recording this podcast, harvest is pretty much started across our whole territory. It's a little heavier in some areas, but really there's the bulk of it is is yet to come, and it's going to probably pick up really, really hard over the next week.
Oh yeah,
Heading into October.
Yeah.
So, one of Joe's non-official titles, at least I'm going to say that one of your non-official titles, is a demo expert.
That's what it's turning out to be, I think.
I know.
Demo escort, demo
Yeah,
expert.
demo escort, demo expert, startup guy. I guess I don't.
Yeah.
The demo expert. That's what the
Demo
episode
expert.
used to be called.
The demo expert. Instead of demolition, it's just demo. I like it. Yeah. No, demos are an
Demo
incredibly
derby.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Demos are an incredibly incredibly important part of our business model. Very time consuming, a lot of work.
It is.
Which means you've got to completely know the product.
Well, right. You don't want to push a product out to a customer. I mean, there's been times where it's like, we're going to learn this together. Don't get me wrong.
But you're upfront about that. But this machine is not one of those.
No.
You got to know what's going on.
Yeah.
To use it to its fullest again.
Yeah. So Courtney's also on the demo machine. Man, we have like the tag team here.
Yeah.
Courtney and Joe are going to be working together to cover the S7 800. And then we also have an S7 700 that we have 2 more IS team member, Integrated Solutions team members on. The
Indiana,
Western.
yeah.
The Western territory is getting coverage from them. Okay, so both of you, I'm going to put both of you on the spot. Courtney, you're going first because I'm not going to let you take Joe's words. And just say, I agree. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Yep.
What is your number one prediction from this fall? Like from watching this combine around our territory, number one prediction. Going back to the 7th grade science class, make a prediction. We'll see if it comes true.
When we were out at a demo, actually Joe kind of left me high and dry on that one demo.
I did it kind of intense.
And yeah, I was not too thrilled with him. Luckily, the customer is very nice and easygoing. And but the one comment he made when I was sitting in the cab with him was, "Wow, this already has used less fuel than my combine that I use on the daily."
Yeah.
So that just kind of stuck out, and he was giving like good feedback while I was sitting there in the cab. Of okay, like, yep, it's picking up now. We have like it could see satellite imagery. Like, okay, it's starting to pick up. I don't have to really touch anything. I just have to basically raise the head because we had all the automation turned on. We had auto track turn automation, auto path, all that. It was going. So I was just.
It sounds like you're saying they can see results real time almost. So they can just see the fuel usage real time.
Yep,
That's an instant gratification thing.
Yeah.
We were literally
Yeah.
just talking
Yeah.
about that earlier.
Versus having to go back and look at the op center and see the See and Spray maps. You can see the fuels. You get the live fuel numbers and you can feel the combine changing on the fly and the efficiencies. So I get
that
that.
was interesting to see too, because that was the first time that I had actually ridden in the machine itself, and see it actually work from the cab view.
And those are 2 big selling points of that combine, which is harvest efficiency and fuel efficiency. When you're talking about the technology and the automation and the forward viewing cameras, right off the bat, the 2 things you talk about are the 2 selling points.
I mean,
And that's great.
time is money and fuel is expensive. So, yeah. Okay, Joe, you can't steal Courtney's.
I wanted to say I agree with her and just.
You're not allowed to.
All right.
If I wasn't allowed to go first and I couldn't say it, you can't say it either.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I can't say prediction. I just have a good idea now that we've got a couple of demos under our belt on this thing.
We're still young in this.
We're still young. We're still learning. Couple things we want to try yet with it, definitely for sure.
And have you seen it run in corn or just beans?
Yes. So we ran it in corn.
Okay.
Obviously, the corn was pretty consistent. You didn't see a whole lot of fluctuation as far as changes and stuff like that. So seeing it run in soybeans was extremely cool, especially right now because we've still got green stems. In our area, the beans are extremely dry. Just the year we had, the fields are varying so much from 50 feet to 50 feet, you know.
That's everywhere too. It's not.
Oh yeah, but I think guys are going to see this and realize how much they weren't getting done. Like I've told some of the salesmen, we actually need to push these machines. They talk about 20% productivity increase right? Just the way that these machines can keep themselves fed and real-time adjustments, our grain losses, what we're seeing out the back is so minimal. These guys are going to realize that, man, I was throwing a lot out the back, or my fields were changing so much, but I was typically set at 4.5 mile an hour. That's where we ran. We never played with it. I didn't make any adjustments throughout the day. Sieves, chaffer, they weren't seeing that, and we've kind of seen that a little bit with the automation in the previous years where it maintains it. But I think guys are going to realize that this thing is actually making me money too.
It's a whole different animal.
This
one is, yeah,
completely.
And that's what the technology is designed to do. And I think my thought also on top of what you guys said was, I think there's going to be customers that are maybe on the fence thinking about an X9 or something, and then they realize this combine can probably almost compete with that machine a little bit with the efficiency as far as just max. You're talking about a 20% increase. I mean, that almost bumps you up a class. Really?
Almost. I going into it, like I said, I think we need to push it a little bit more to the machine is keeping itself at capacity. Will we see guys get done a little bit quicker than your typical S780? Yes, probably. How much? I don't know. But we are getting the most effective threshing, the most effective cleaning throughout the day. This thing is adjusting real time, speed-wise. It's not slugging itself. If it sees the patch ahead, it's going to get thick. It slows down in anticipation,
And it's only going to get better.
It's only going to get better.
You think about See and Spray, how much See and Spray has improved since the day it came out, which it has.
Yeah.
Which this hasn't even technically come out
Right,
yet.
this is still,
this is
2025.
And we are on full limited production build. So the only machines operating in the U.S. with this technology, with that cab, are demo machines.
Yeah.
So
only allocated by Deere to dealers to use for demo purposes.
So if we've literally been in the fields for a week, 10 days, and you guys are already seeing potentially some exciting things, imagine what this is going to look like in 3 years or 2 years.
Yeah.
Another thing that I noticed, even being out on the one demo, well, I've been out on a couple, but actually being in the cab, was after we did grain loss check with the machine running, going in and making those adjustments and just watching the machine adjust itself as it was driving through the field to keep the goal for the farmer that he wanted to keep a certain percentage, and watching it just adjust and trying to maintain that, along with the grain sample cameras, I guess, just how fast those updated. It was like a constant update. It wasn't like every 2 minutes it was changing an image. It was constant as the grain was moving through, which I also thought was interesting.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are used to, and it's interesting you bring that up because so many people are used to just looking at their little view window right behind them, and that's how they do a lot of their checks. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the recommended way to do your grain quality, but that is how a lot of people gauge especially if they're operators where they're staying in the cab and they're not hopping around. That's definitely, so that's a good observation. Yeah. So Josh, a while back, and I don't want to jump around here, but I think it is a good call out. So you were talking about the sizing and the classification for some of these machines. For the 800s, we do have a horsepower increase compared to prior years. And then we also have the engine power limit at 105. So have you messed around with that, Joe?
Absolutely. So we've been pushing these. Our first 3 demos. I said we're gonna make these things work.
Yeah.
So we cranked them up.
When you said you liked it was crazy to see the differences, especially just keeping them fuller, happier, and working more efficiently, and how all that comes together. I figured you had, but yeah, just your experience. What does that look like?
It's impressive. It is very impressive. My thoughts going into this, and our first demo was corn. For example, he kind of wanted to keep our speed range kicked back. We were already having problems with keeping wagons up with it. So we we did. So we backed that off.
The combine sat a couple times.
The combine was sitting a couple times. We were sitting there waiting on our grain cart.
Shows you where the bottleneck is.
Yep.
For sure.
That's where I think a lot of people, when they start running these machines, they're going to figure out really quick that is their true bottleneck.
Well, and we saw that on the X9.
Yeah, for sure. The X9 it wore the auger wagon drivers out.
Yeah,
pretty quick.
But coming into the soybeans, I said we're going to push this machine. So we set our max speed to 6.5 mile an hour. We set our engine load to 105%, and this machine maintained 4.5 to 5 mile an hour. It'd come and go as it needed it, but it could get to 6 mile an hour if needed. So,
it sounds like that you really need to push the limits to show what this thing can do.
Absolutely. Because this machine knows what it wants to be happy.
Yeah.
So the technology knows what this machine requires to do the best job that it can. Throughput.
Yeah.
So, and that's doing it better than what we can.
Yeah.
Feed me is what it's saying.
It is. It really is.
I feel like when the X9s came out, it's like talking about it eating corn. That was, everybody, that thing eats corn.
I can't wait to see an
dinner.
X9 with this technology.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Now that I'm thinking about this,
that is really not going to be able to keep up with that.
Yeah.
No.
An extra auger cart, and then one extra semi at least,
Is that I need 2 extra semis?
You're gonna go back. I gotta go back to. We kind of talked about the productivity of going.
There's so many good nuggets that are in here. I'm like, we can't. I'm like, oh yeah, we need to go back to that. Then we're just gonna be going.
It reminds me of when the Exactamerge came out. And one of the coolest stories with Exactamerge, you were so efficient with it and so productive that I had a customer say, we actually shut the planter down one day to spray because there was no wind that day and it was the perfect time to spray. So we just shut the planters down and we focused on just spraying as much as we could spray. That we were so productive with that planter that we could afford to shut it down one day. And we've had a customer last year in corn that they were harvesting with a 780 and an X9 and they were filling, and they have a massive dryer, but they were filling their holding storage up so quick they would always shut their combines down at about noon for like 2 or 3 hours. Let the dryers catch up. It's not uncommon for that to happen now, for guys to be able to shut down. It seems kind of weird to say that, but there are other things you can do.
Oh yeah.
It is really weird to see literally just this morning you said, "Oh, I saw some combines sitting." For a different reason, but that's because of rain. But it's not uncommon to see combines sitting anymore.
During daytime.
Yeah, and you can shut down actually at a decent hour at night. You don't have to run to the wee hours of the morning. You can be that productive. It used to be when you were shutting down, that was the worst thing in the world. Now you can actually get to a point where you can actually shut down.
Yeah.
And
having a relaxing moment.
Yeah.
Farmer mental health. It's a thing.
But people are so used to running all the time that shutting down to get sleep or to go spend time with your family, they might not be thinking it's efficient, but really it is. You're getting more done in a day and you're actually able to enjoy family time and things like that.
Yeah, it's not natural to shut down. But then you talk to those people after the fact and they say, man, this season it went great and I was refreshed in the mornings, and you hear it in their voices and see it, that efficiency and being able to not have to run 20 hours a day, and they're fresher, they're happier, they have a very fond outlook on that growing season when they have those opportunities. I mean, they just do. It changes everything.
I could think
Farmer mental health.
Yeah, I could think back to my grandpa. If this technology was around and my grandpa was alive, he wouldn't know what to do with himself.
Yeah. Hey, be careful.
Downtime.
I said that. We were talking about machine sync, and Andy was in on the podcast, and I said, what do they even do? They have auto track, they have turn automation, they have machine sync. What are they doing? And he's like, managing an entire farm. And then he made it sound like I was putting them down. But I know what you mean. But again, one of the key things about that automation is maintaining consistent productivity. So, and there is a great graph that we use during clinics of an example of just little distractions. Your kid hops in the cab just to ride with dad, or you're eating lunch, or you're trying to put another contract in, sell some more of that crop. Whatever the case is, those things happen. And maintaining the efficiency throughout is, that's insane. It's a completely different ballgame. And you get to actually do more in terms of farm management than feeling like you just have to stare at corn going into your head for 12 hours a day.
And again, we have that cell phone in our hands at all time. We have the ability to now market, check things.
You literally manage your farm from
send
your phone.
emails, so that again the technologies that we add allow us those flexibilities as well. So So we've got demos to do. We've got a lot.
Yep.
Again, as we're recording this podcast, we're getting ready to start. I think the heat of harvest probably Monday. It's going to really go crazy. That's
I think so.
October, and the corn's drying down. The beans, you talked about the green stems. We've got this rain that's hopefully going to help us get some of those green stems to go away. So corn and soybeans as a whole, I think we're going to go whole hog next week. So we've got demos lined up.
Yep.
What are we talk a little bit about the prep work before this combine goes out, and then I want to talk about how we may wrap up these demos as we head towards winter, and maybe review them with the grower and what things we're going to look at on the op center side.
Well,
maybe.
and if we get some time, we should probably bring up the technology a little bit, exactly, because some of these guys don't know what the technology is that we're talking about here. So
and that might be good, I guess, before the prep work. So predictive harvest technology is the center of this.
Predictive ground speed automation, yeah. So that's combining the satellite imagery with the forward-facing cameras, overlaying those maps, looking at biomass, and then optimizing your settings, your combine settings, based on what's coming. So a predictive reaction or a predictive change rather than a reactionary experience.
So, and you brought up the satellite imagery. So there's multiple shots taken throughout the year that give us an idea of anticipated biomass that will be available. So
from Op Center, there's third-party data that comes in, and that's all proprietary and protected, very private. So obviously that's a call out that I want to make, and I think it's important to say as many times as we can. But that data comes in, so it's just satellite imagery.
And I think most people have had a little contact with near-infrared imagery before, so right, the colors dictate the...
Yeah, the NDVI is measuring biomass throughout the growing season to get a well-rounded picture, so it's not comparing to the field next to you. It's actually, okay, is there biomass there? Is it...
is it lighter on this hillside? Is it heavier in this dark?
What the situation, and then if you have weather events that occur, so hail or wind or whatever, in those unfortunate instances, it can measure that and change that component, the satellite imagery that the combine is reading for those situations. But
so that's one layer of information that comes into this predictive ground speed technology. And the other layer is the actual visual.
So the forward facing cameras, there's two stereo cameras mounted on each side of the combine cab. I cannot talk right now. I feel like I'm using a lot of the same words. There's two cameras mounted on either side, forward facing. I believe it looks 22 feet ahead, 28, 22.
22, I think.
Okay,
I remember
22 feet ahead. I'm just...
Plenty of time to...
Yeah. So, and that honestly, I didn't think about this before, but you see there's a great visual that exists from Deere on some of the promotional materials, and you're like, oh, I'm probably looking 22 feet ahead. And then you think about how far in front of you you're actually looking, because most people's gut reaction when they are bringing in corn is to look
at the head.
Yeah.
So, just enough time to be shutting everything down if something comes in that it's not supposed to and back it up. But you're not looking 22 feet ahead. And so that was kind of an interesting mental check for me. But looking 22 feet ahead. Again, biomass, we have cameras, and you can pull that up and watch that real-time biomass from the camera feed, just as you can similar to the See and Spray.
So that's two layers of information, and there's an algorithm that combines those and allows that predictive ground speed technology to work. So what do you have to do, Courtney, on the front end, and how much time do you need to prep the setup files, if you will,
So actually, we try to get info a week ahead at max, or at min, I guess. Just trying to get field names of customers. We try to get more, or at least the specific crop that they want to see it run in. That way we can get, if not all their fields of where they're wanting to go, just in case a different field's ready compared to the original field that they want. So that way we have all that ready to go.
Some flexibility.
Yep, flexibility. So that way we can still kind of keep on track and schedule of this demo machine, as we have quite a few customers signed up for it.
And one thing to call out on that is, so we're pulling other people's boundaries. That's what those satellite imagery is tied to, is their boundaries. So when we pull that, the satellite imagery comes with it. That is an extra step that we are doing that customers with their own machine will not have to. Not as much work if you were to own one of these machines yourself.
And I think they were saying next year it's supposed to be a little bit easier yet. So
Yeah.
by the time they release these models, the setup for them will be a lot easier.
They're fine making the dealers do the work, but
Yeah.
they'll try to save the customer some time where they can.
But you're going on a kind of a fact-finding mission a week ahead at least to get things ready to know, okay, here's the field. So then we got to go out and get that satellite imagery lined up and
Get the boundaries pulled in. Variety locator, if they have that AutoPath lines, putting that, putting that into our Op Center account, creating a work plan to send off the boundaries to get the satellite imagery, which that can take anywhere from a couple hours to a couple days, just depending on where you're at in the list.
So there's the moral of the story. There's always set up information to go into a combine, but when you have this technology, it usually takes we like to give ourselves a couple extra days for that setup information to be formed and sent to the machine. So there is a little bit of prep work.
Well, and it's a little bit harder for us because this year with the Op Center, with the automation, we can't move the equipment from our Op Center into the customer's Op Center like we were used to. So we have to bring the data that we need for the demos over into our Op Center. So that's why it's taking us a little bit more setup too. So.
Yeah, we have an account set aside for this
Correct.
combine. Yeah, so we have to bring that particular customer information into that account and do the setup work there. So there is a little prep work, and that was the point I wanted you to be able to make, Courtney, is that we can't just take this thing out on a whim.
Nope. We need time. We need a couple days at least. We also found out that if you send it on a Friday, we don't get it by Monday. We need
Hopefully that's
extra
fixed. That what was that? Our first demo.
first or second. I don't remember which one it was.
Yeah, we had everything generated and put in work plans to be done, processed for Monday, and it wasn't there.
Came to a screeching halt.
Yeah, so
It's like anything else. That process will get better, and my guess is we're saying 2 days, but in another year it might be.
the last ones we did, it came over instantaneously.
Yeah.
So
there's some setup work for sure, and then obviously then there's the field side, Joe, of getting all that setup information put in and getting the combine ready to roll. What do you think there'll be anything from the Op Center we get from this after the fact? We're going to look at some efficiencies and yield consistencies and productivities. We can kind of further analyze that information after the fact, right? As far
absolutely.
as fuel efficiency.
Yep.
And, maybe dive into we know in the Op Center there's enough places to go for information that it's a nerd's dream, right? If you really want to dig deep, and definitely that machinery performance information should stand out in terms of fuel efficiency and productivity and
absolutely.
Even if you're not using Op Center as an agronomic data analysis platform, totally fine. At least use it for your machine stats.
It'd be cool to. I don't know if you guys are doing this. It'd be cool to turn it off for a couple rounds and turn it back on for a couple rounds too. You know,
Opening the fields up, we've been starting with it off, and then we'll kick it on and let guys kind of see.
If you were to keep it on while you were opening a field up, obviously there's a lot of stop and go and back up and you know all the things. Would that change the calibration of all of that, or no effect? You just like to prefer to.
Just kind of gives us because there's a lot going on when you're opening the field up, right? A lot to keep track of, obstacles, turns, stuff like that. It's like we don't even have the time. We don't even have the time to look at what's going on.
Cutting out a spot for the overcart to get in there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so, and that makes sense. And I was just curious. You know, it would probably be crazy to see the efficiency numbers change when you flip it on versus flip it off, and the fuel efficiency. That would be a selling point probably in itself.
So when I go out and start these, there's a couple things that I've figured out to do. First off is the satellite imagery. I set that as a background for our mapping, so you can see what that satellite imagery we brought in. It's what's going to fall back on if the cameras can't see, right?
Okay.
And that looks more like a yield map, right? Like
and it does.
Density,
it looks like a yield map.
Yeah.
Near infrared. Yep.
Yep. Second off is I screwed the settings up. Okay. So whatever we had the previous field for the demo before, I mess it all up. All right. I want this machine to dial itself in so this guy sees how easy it is.
Go back to default.
Yeah. The cool part about these machines is
it's a good idea.
So the default settings that we're used to setting the machine up for when we're initially setting for a crop, right? They are actually sending those over based on area. So wherever that machine pings to, tower-wise, or with our modems, MTGs, correct? They have default settings for those areas.
Like for the region.
For the region.
Okay.
Yep. So they are a lot more dialed in to start with. Okay. I will set the targets higher than what we normally want to run. So like our losses, our grain tank foreign matter, our broken grains, I've set those numbers higher than
So
what,
Sure.
limits, not
limits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
not
you.
targets.
Targets, limits.
I did catch that time.
Yes, atta girl. But yes, so I set my limits high, okay, and then we go on, we pull in and we start harvesting. I let the combine register what it's actually doing versus what we have it our limits set to. Okay. As we're harvesting, I will slowly bring those limits down to what it's actually doing. So then it's going to maintain those limits, right? If I want to clean the sample up, if I want my losses to get better, I will lower those limits a little bit more till we get that machine.
So what's your point in doing that?
So the point in doing that is I'm letting the machine make the calls.
Okay.
Okay.
Showing the customer that
Showing the
it's
customer
capable.
that it's capable of it.
Yeah.
So
they probably get all antsy and
right.
concerned.
So
when
so
that happens.
everybody's used to, well, I have to adjust my chaffer. I have to no. So now I just what it is we set our limit. So if I want my foreign material cleaned up a little bit, I lower that limit from, let's just say 1 point or a tenth of a point, I guess is the way it goes. So typically you go between the numbers of 1 and 10, right?
Yeah.
So I'll drop that limit, and it'll make all those adjustments for me,
And you can show them.
and I can show them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can see it change on the display too. Like if it's not changing, the lettering or the colors will be black, and then if it is changing, it'll turn to blue. So you can see what it's changing and when,
And it tells you why.
yeah.
So you're showing them how
Yeah.
that sample gets cleaned up.
Yep.
And that that productivity increases as the combine
Yep.
wants to make it better.
So the why, I mean, that's big because Combine Advisor, it would change it. Okay, why are we changing that?
Yeah.
Why are we making that change? And so this will actually tell you, well, you're getting close or you're above your grain loss limit or your foreign material limit. So we're gonna do this is our response to that, or the machine's response to that. So I think that's awesome.
That's a truly way to fully display the capabilities of the machine.
Yeah.
And that's the way I feel about it. It's like I'm not going to pull a machine in to demo this technology that's already preset.
Yeah.
Because he's going to sit there and watch it. It's like, yeah, it's doing a great job, but
Yeah.
to actually see them, make them see this thing make its changes on its own, and dial itself in.
That's
and
awesome.
Figure out its speeds.
Yeah. That's great. I don't know that I would have thought of that. I would have
Yeah.
probably taken the short way. Let's just make this thing work the quickest way possible.
These demos are not a quick demo. So
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I think that's awesome, and I think there's a lot to look forward to, and I'm super interested in listening to. Well, obviously, I'll listen to it. I'll be there for it. But the recording after harvest and breaking that down, we're gonna have a recap of just like we did for See and Spray. We're gonna go back and we're gonna recap, and we'll have some success stories, and
Hopefully we can have a customer on too. I think that's going to be an awesome wrap up demo.
yeah.
For
Yep.
sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure I will have a.
I just think this fall is going to be awesome. I think that the demo customers, I think they're going to be super pumped about it if they're not already, and even more pumped afterwards. And this is really exciting. I've had customers come in and say, well, I'm not buying one of those combines because I always want to be in the cab of my combine, and I don't need an autonomous combine. And I think that this is just going to be so telling of, this is not autonomy in a futuristic Back to the Future type of way where there's flying cars and nobody's sitting in the combine. This is maximizing the time that you are sitting in the combine.
It's one
making
more,
the most of
it's
it.
just again another step in the advancement towards autonomy. But
Yeah.
it's to me it's showing proof of what these machines are capable of doing.
Yeah.
And there's some brains in it. It's like
I just think it's the
got
best of
brain.
both worlds. I
Yeah.
mean, you're using the brain, the software, the controllers, and all of the information and the technology side combined with everything that you know and love about a combine today. And like everybody has said in this room, there's a million benefits that come with it.
And falling back into the two things we started talking about, nobody's going to complain about fuel efficiency. Nobody's going to complain about productivity.
Yeah.
Ever.
So Courtney, I think it's fair to say you'll be right. She picked the two big ones.
Nice job setting the stage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Out of the two demos that we talked about, like with the See and Spray earlier and like the Combine, I think the Combine demos are by far my favorite compared to the See and Spray. I've gone on a couple See and Spray demos, but I found I like this Combine demo. These two Combine demos
why?
a lot
Combines are
more.
fun.
You know why? It's
Why
because
is that? Tell me why I like the
you
demos more.
are part of the younger generation that loves instant gratification.
I knew where you were going with that. There's instant gratification in that Combine demo.
It's the TikTok. It's the TikTok theory that if it's not right in front of your face in 6 seconds or less, you're moving on to the next thing, and it's not worth it.
And that's okay. That's okay. So, no, this is good stuff, man. I'm super excited. I'm legitimately super excited for next time we get to talk about this after the fact. I think it's going to be really eye-opening. It's already eye-opening. I think it's going to be more eye-opening, and I'm looking forward to hearing what the customers.
I'm a data person. I just want to see the numbers. Like when you can read the efficiency stats off to me and the fuel savings, and we get a good mental health, huge farmer mental health. If we get a good mental health testimonial, man, this thing, our jobs are done.
Yep, it's bright. It's really bright. Future's bright.
That's all she wrote.
Yep.
All right. Well, with that, stay tuned and listen to our episode coming after harvest for sure if you enjoyed this one. Until next time.
We'll talk to you next time.